What's up, Hutch? Can you hear me? I'm going to be completely random on this, I guess. I was trying to figure out something to do on the last minute here just to kind of have something to go off of. And so if it's random as hell, I apologize. But I'll probably, actually, what I've decided I was probably going to do, since I'm not going to be talking about I'm going to hold off on the grizzly country, probably, I guess, until Hutch is able to be here, and that way we can talk back and forth and everything like that. But I see Hutch says yay, so I'm assuming he can hear me then. But yeah, anyway, so I guess I'll just play this off like a typical, like a video I'd be doing, I guess, except for now I'm live, I suppose. So, anyways, I guess on this here, since I'm waiting to do that till later, I'm just going to do some like kind of history maybe on prepping or something kind of like that. I don't want to say history because I'm not a history major or anything, but I'm going to just kind of go over a couple things I've read about recently and that I've seen here and there, and kind of just throw it out there for anybody that watches this later or whatever to kind of check it out. Well, hello, Jennifer. How are you tonight? So yeah, I'll talk about that a little bit and kind of move on from there. But so basically, what I've been looking at was, hey, Native, what's up, boss? Yay, I got 3 people in here. Basically, what I've been reading about was kind of like how preppers and prepping was. Thanks, Arkansas. Hey, Arkansas living. I look like your old history teacher. Heck yeah. So kind of like why it started, or things, not necessarily why it started, but things that made people actually want to be preppers or prepping for different things. And like part of it was like the 1950s and 60s war paranoia. So like during the 50s, man, I hope my dates are right. Maybe I should just say during a certain part of the era. We had a Cold War with, but I'll go with that. I'll just go with certain eras, and I'll say it so I ain't saying the wrong dates and stuff like that. But we was having a Cold War with Russia, and so Americans were doing, like starting to build fallout shelters, starting to hide under desk and cover their heads. I remember my mom talking about that, like how they would have drills in class, and they would have the buzzer go off, and then get down, put their hands over their head and stuff like that. And that was kind of a deal they did for all the kids. And in fact, a lot of the schools around here in Kansas, anyways, still have like fallout shelters and stuff like that in them. When you go down or into the gymnasiums of these schools around here, you'll see a great big sign that says fallout shelter there. So they still have those around here, and it's kind of neat to see them and know that those were built back then and why they were built, because they were worried about a bomb, a nuclear bomb being dropped off somewhere near around here. Not necessarily in Kansas, but in America in general. In fact, it was so much so that I believe the government was encouraging people in the United States to build fallout shelters themselves and do bomb drills with the kids and everything throughout the entire country. Let's see here. Let's go a little bit further on to that, and we'll get out of that one, I suppose. Sorry, guys, this is just shooting from the hip on all this. I'm trying to remember basically everything I've read over last couple of weeks. I had something completely different planned, and now that I'm just kind of rolling on my own, I'm just gonna talk away for a minute. But yeah, so that's one of them. Then you get into like, I feel like a retard sitting here trying to do this now. I wish I would have had this a little bit more prepared, but if we get enough people in here, I might go ahead and do the bear thing, because I did read that and actually, pay attention to that a little bit. I just really was hoping to do that with Heartland Survival instead of trying to do that on my own, because it's just a lot easier to, bounce it off of somebody else when you're doing a hindsight like that and kind of looking over situations or whatever. Let's see here. kind of lost myself here. I tried to take some real quick notes too, and apparently my handwriting sucks, so I can't actually read them. But anyways, okay, so then they get into, in this one article I was reading, they talked about the Cold War there briefly. Then they moved into like the 70s and 80s, where they were talking about, retreaters and survivalists and how they were doing theirs, and they were trying to bring on more like pioneer skills and stuff during that time. And I'm not 100% sure why they started doing it that way, but that's what they did. And like in that article I was reading, they said they started doing the survivalist type of thing. If I remember correctly, it was mainly because they thought they were going to have some type of a food shortage and stuff like that at that point in time also. And they were like getting gas vouchers. I think it was roughly in that era. Anyways, they were getting gas vouchers and things like that. So it's kind of a little bit familiar to what we're having now as far as that goes with food shortages and things like that. And yes, I'm clicking around because I'm trying to find notes on here because I wrote some and I cannot read them, guys. So it is what it is. Let's see here. And okay, so it's still in the 70-ish era. There was a guy that was in this article, and he was talking about when he was in a Catholic school, how there was a big barrel that the kids had out in front of the school, and the teacher would take them out there and kind of show them the barrel and ask them if they knew what was in it. And maybe I could talk about how the fallouts were built. Well, yeah, it's a good idea, honey. Not exactly sure on that 100%. I know they are very thick walled. I did read about that a long time ago. If I remember correctly, the walls on the fallout shelters are over 12 inches thick, and they have a ton of rebar inside of them. But that's a good idea. Maybe I should look that up and actually do a little bit of talking on that, either as a real short video or on a different live, is how the fallout shelters were actually built. Because it's interesting you say that. I did actually order a book that's how to build a fallout shelter. Pastor Joe, I believe it was the one. I think it was Viking Preparedness is his YouTube channel. But anyways, he was talking about this book, and it was how to build a survival fallout shelter. And the guy that wrote the book, it's supposed to be pretty simple, straightforward, inexpensive, so most people can afford to do it. And yeah, it's not a great big deep underground bunker like a lot of these other ones, or like these actual fallout shelters that my wife was saying maybe I should talk about how they were built. But it's supposed to be a pretty decent way. Actually, he says it's a really good way to build a fallout shelter. So I went ahead and ordered the book that he was talking about. I can't remember the name of the book off the top of my head. It was something kind of literally very simple like that as well. It was how to build a fallout shelter, and then it had the guy's name. If I can remember it, I'll put it in the comments if anybody's interested in it. Or if you go to Viking Preparedness and look at Pastor Joe's video, I think in that video, that's in the title of the video, is the fallout shelter thing. So it's an interesting video, and he tells you exactly who it is, and he tells you a little bit about it. But back to those fallout shelters that my wife was talking about, and I was talking about. So those around here, anyways, I know some of the contractors that I've talked to in the past have told me that the walls were over 12 inches thick. They're full of concrete. When you look at the roof in these things, the ceiling in them, you can see where they kind of go flat like this, and they go down and over and back up and across like that. And it's just like a great big beam that goes across there. And that beam there is like 2 foot thick, and the floor is over a foot thick. So you got, a foot thick floor plus that 2 foot beam. So you got 3 foot of stuff there. And those, once again, are completely full, like tons of rebar all throughout it. Big mattings laid out throughout there. And then, of course, in the ones around here, you got, usually there's a gym above them. So you got the gym floor and whatever up there, and you got your basketball goals and everything like that. And most of the ones around here, I don't recall 100%, but just off the top of my head, I don't believe there's any windows in it at all once you get down to a certain point. And so all of them also that from around here, like as I was a kid, our locker room was in one, and it wasn't just a straight shot into the locker room. You would walk down a hallway about, I don't know, 20 feet, maybe 30 feet, and it's walking down it and across also. So it always went downhill as you were walking out in there. And then it would turn, and mine, for instance, it would turn to the right, and it would continue downhill for another 20 feet or whatever, and then it would turn back right again and continue on like that. So it was like 3 right-hand turns to get into this, locker room, which was just solid concrete, big pillars everywhere, and our lockers were down there, and there was not a window one in there anywhere. And we had showers and everything like that down there, but thinking back on it, no matter what time of year it was, I know we had heating and air conditioning and everything like that in there, but man, it stayed a nice temperature in there. And that was also our tornado shelter here. But if you guys have any in your area, go check them out. They're pretty interesting to look at. And very interesting concept. So now my wife's got my gears really turning, and I want to look into those. So I will look into those a little bit more. But I'll hop back to what I was kind of talking about with that barrel. I think I got to the barrel part. Anyways, outside of school, this guy was telling a story, and this is, back in the 70s. He was telling a story about a school teacher taking him out, which he was saying it was a big drum. And the teacher was asking them if they knew what was in this drum, and the kids all, guessed all kinds of random things. He said everything from snakes to blankets to, basketballs, all kinds of stuff like that. But it ended up being, when they opened it up, the teacher pulled out a wool blanket, a plastic bottle, a water bottle, and a bag of saltines, and told them that, these items would save their life. And the teacher had told them that if the Soviet Union had dropped a nuclear bomb anywhere in New York or whatever, these type of items would, save them. So it's kind of interesting, reading an article and seeing that, back there in that time frame, which is about when I was born, a couple of years after I was born, according to this article, that they still had something like that kind of in place. And, people were able to be taught that as a child, that you should have some kind of preparedness thing in mind. Let's see here. Sorry, I'm trying to read the comments as well, but it's not pulling up very good. So, anyways, in this article, this guy went along, was trying to find the last. Man, I stayed at work too to try to get better reception. And the last comment I've seen was my wife. So I thought there was another one that came on there, and then now it's kind of sketching out on me. So we'll see how that goes. Anyways, this guy in this article, he talked about how, after that, it had been quite some time later, and he had realized how much the country had lost its ability for preparedness, or not necessarily ability, but its mindset of preparedness. How we have lost so much of our preparedness mindset from just that time frame. And it's kind of interesting because, yeah, it's true. Clear up until, the pandemic, basically, everybody laughed at anybody that was prepping or doing anything prepper style. And it was over even silly things, because you couldn't even, try to buy generators or anything like that without somebody always trying to put some kind of a you're crazy on top of it type of a deal. So yeah, it's we've came a long ways from having a barrel outside of a school as far as how accepted it is. But once we had the pandemic, it seems like, you know, a lot of people started accepting it a lot more so, which we all know that. So it is what it is. I guess it's human nature. Once something kind of goes away, then you put it in the back of your mind, you quit worrying about it. And then once it's gone for long enough, then you just start making fun of people that still do a certain thing. So I guess it makes sense once you really think about it a little bit. So that's pretty much it on that particular article. So that did not get me near as far as I was hoping to get into. I was hoping to at least get, you know, into this 30 minutes with that article, but you know, there we go. That's where that got. I'm going to see if I can see any of these comments here to at least say hi to some folks here. And here it goes. So we got Hutch in here. What's going on, brother? My wife, Jennifer. I did get glasses, but I just don't. Klingon Princess, just exploring everything, Path. And that looks like everybody. And Native, Arkansas living. Sorry, man. I always try to say that the way I think everybody else would say it, but an Ohio prepper. So what's up, everybody? Thank you all for showing up. And like I said, sorry that I'm not like on the A game and all. I'm not even on a B game tonight, man. I'm slacking bad. Had a little bit of a hiccup. Heartland wasn't able to make it. He had a concert to go to tonight. So it was kind of a last minute thing. I didn't have a chance to go in and change the title on the live. And so then I just kind of was trying to scramble around and come up with something to do, something to talk about. So if y'all have anything, any questions, any random thoughts that you want to talk about, or just whatever, throw it out there on the comments so that maybe I can have something to mumble about for a minute. Like basically, you know, what's everybody been up to these days? Well, I know what Hutch's been up to. I haven't watched his video, so he can't really, you know, tell me too much, I guess. So has anybody seen or read anything, I guess, about any of these? I'm sure it's been talked about a million times, but I don't care. I'm going to talk about it one more time since I am, you know, trying to find something to talk about. But has anybody seen or, you know, read anything about these multi-million dollar, I guess, silos that are in Kansas that these people have made into giant bunkers? Apparently they are guarded even by, a lot of them are guarded by former Navy SEALs, Rangers, things like that. They are quite large. The missile silos are quite large, obviously. I mean, they held missiles in them. But these people went through and they made these extravagant fallout shelters, bunkers for people to live in. And what I'd seen on there was it was basically like, bottom line was $1 million+ to get into the thing. And Hutch says, yep, one full of hippies up at Speaker. I don't doubt that any. It's kind of interesting what kind of folks would be paying that kind of money to be getting into something like this. But they've got these, you know, the highest technology, I suppose you'd say, for air filtration, water filtration, food storage, cameras all over the place, of course. So their security systems are phenomenal. They're just amazing. And I didn't realize how many there was in the state of Kansas until I started looking around at them a little bit just the other day. And turns out there's literally 20 of them in the state of Kansas that are functional, large bunker facilities that people are, you know, paying to stay in. And they have, you know, different levels and everything. But in one of them, they were showing in the article and stuff, they have like a, you know, a pool area. It has a slide, diving boards, all that kind of stuff, rocks. So it looks like you're outside. They have trees, and like it's not painted on the walls. They're like giant screens that kind of just slowly have either pictures, going through them, so you could like see a bird flying occasionally or whatever. But it's just projected up onto the wall to make it look like it's outside. And they'll go with the seasons on them, so they're programmed to change with the seasons. So you see the leaves falling off, you see snow falling on the ground. It's pretty interesting because, I mean, they seem really secure. It's just, not really secure. They are obviously extremely secure, but I don't know if I'd want to put my entire livelihood on the line to be basically trapped in a hole. And their air filtration system is outside of the silo, so it's actually still guarded, but it's within a fence. On the one that I've seen, anyways, it's within a fence outside. So if somebody was able to break the barrier on these fences and get into there, then they could potentially mess with the air filtration system and stuff like that on there. Now it's 100 times better than I'll ever be able to get into, but it still seems like a potential death trap to me. But if I had that kind of money, I'd probably be right there with them guys trying to figure it out anyways. They showed in the article, they showed pictures of like their pantry, I guess, but you'd call it pantry. It looked more like, a Sam's Club or something like that. I mean, there was huge shelves stacked, from the floor to the ceiling, just big aisles. They actually had shopping carts inside of there. They had like a little miniature grocery store, basically. So you have credits per, which is kind of interesting too. They had credits per how much you paid to go into this place. And you go into there and you have X amount of credits. And so say your grocery bill is X amount and you want laundry soap, whatever, because they have laundering facilities there, of course. But it's kind of like your debit card, I guess you'd say. And so they keep track of this stuff. And, I guess the people have kind of figured out and done the math for how many years they're going to be there, how much money they need per credits, and kind of, I suppose they would maintain a certain diet and only eat certain things or, buy certain things. I'm sure they'd be on a very strict budget of everything once you're in there, so that you could, still go into the store, shop, have fun, getting food, and, because they had other miscellaneous items, like clothes and stuff like that. I'm sure because they're trying to, in these particular bunkers, from what I was reading, they're trying to emulate, or, I can't think of the word. They're trying to make it like it's real life, so you have all these things in there. You don't have quick shops, crap like that, but you do have shopping stores and malls, things like that. They have eye doctors. They have school rooms and everything's set up in there. It's a pretty amazing deal, actually, looking into those. It would be crazy I would love to just go tour one, I'm sure they probably do a credit check and you have to have a pretty good chunk of change to even go pretend like you're going to walk through there and have money to, humor them showing you around. But it would be terribly interesting to see what all exactly is in there, because from what I read in the little article and all the pictures I've seen on there, it was crazy. And just the thought that went into it is beyond me of how and so this is kind of a crazy question, I guess, but one thing I didn't see and I couldn't figure out is like how they processed all the, gray water and all that type of stuff. I didn't see nothing in the article like how they processed all that stuff. It had to go somewhere, of course. It had to be somewhere. I don't know. That's one thing I'd really like to see, because it goes down so many levels. It was like by the time they got to one of the levels that they showed in this article was, I want to say 15 stories down, and they still had things going on down there. So of course we still had restrooms and stuff like that going on down there. I'd like to know, not just for pure curiosity's sake, of where all the gray water and wastewater actually goes to, and what they actually do, how they handle that, because to me, that is an extremely important part that they left out for, like my mindset or whatever. Hutch says a 2-acre cave sold by Atchison for $700,000. Oh, shit. Atchison. That's wow. How deep was that cave there, Homestead? That'd have to be a pretty substantial cave, I would think. Well, I don't know, man. Price of land around here is going crazy right now. If I remember right, I think it's $3,000 an acre right now for just average land. That's not farmland. That's not, nothing with a residence on it. That's just your average, probably like what in our area, what we call like the sand hills. So over by like Hutchinson, Kansas and stuff like that, that would be like our average land. And it's going for a pretty good chunk of change. So if you have good land or hunting land and stuff like that, I've seen 80 acres going for like 200 some odd $1,000. So, that's 2 acres though for 700,000. So that'd be kind of interesting to see how deep that cave is, or how big of a cave that is. Stewart says on-site waste management and also food production included in some plans I've seen. I'd like to look at. Yeah, I would love to see how they do that, just out of pure curiosity's sake. I haven't heard of any silos. I don't know. I can't remember how, and I don't know how to like put anybody's question up on the screen, guys. So at some point, I'll have to try to remember that little deal. And I'm gonna have now. See, here we go. Here's a little bit of prepper mindset here. Next time, I'm gonna have a plan B just in case my plan A falls through. That way, I'll at least have something to talk about and something to do that's a little bit more streamlined and at least has a point. And so it keeps me on track. And it actually is worth, at least listening to, hopefully. Non-sectarian land purchased in 3 years with like-minded people. Yeah, I agree. We've been trying to find like-minded people around here a lot more so lately. Ohio Prepper. Yeah, that book, if you get on, it's Pastor Joe again, Viking Preparedness. Get on there and look for him. That book is interesting. It's supposed to be, I was hoping to have it actually by this last weekend, but I haven't seen it yet. Because I want to see what all they talk about on how to do that. Not that I need another project. We've got plenty of big projects to do. Lots of huge projects. So the last thing I probably need to worry about is building a bunker. However, with all the things going around right now around the world, it may not be the worst idea is to go ahead and have one of them on standby either. I think if a guy worked 20 hours a day, that's still giving him time to take a shower. So surely we can get it done. I know my wife can work 20 hours a day pretty easy. So if I could just get onto her level, then we could get a whole lot done around the homestead. But and plus, I think it'd be awful fun to build a little bunker, just to say you did. And hell, I guess maybe I should start learning to film, record stuff. Like my wife and I planted some trees the other day, and as soon as we got done, I went, "Oh yeah, I should have been recording that." I don't know how many things we've done here in the last month or two that I thought, well, hell, I should have recorded that. But, I'll get better at it at some point. I'm hoping to get a GoPro or something a little better than this phone, because this phone also, it constantly is telling me how much time I've got left on recording. So when I'm trying to record, I keep looking up at the time, and it kind of really throws me off of what I'm trying to talk about. Not quite as bad as when I have nothing to talk about like tonight, but at least the comments are getting some things talked about. That's your they turned into a laser tag thing. Old Army surplus bunker, all 2 acres underground paved. Oh wow. I don't know about 700,000, but yeah, See, they bought that and they started a business there. This is my thinking, because this is what I would do as a good business write off, and a good way to try to, get it as a business loan and come up with a crazy cool idea like that, where they're running, this laser tag thing underneath there, and it's like he says, Homestead Hutch says it's all paved and everything like that is awesome. So yeah, I'm sure. Like in my mindset, I would, if I found something like that and I had the capabilities, and I would go into there with a good business plan and try to sell it like that. And that way I have myself a bunker, and it's also a functional business. So kind of the same concept as the guys with the silos. And I'm wondering if maybe that's kind of what this guy might be doing, because that's an awful expensive laser tag area. Just my thoughts, because we have a laser tag, bowling, I don't know what else they got there. Just random games and stuff. And I think they sell serve like pizza or whatever there. And it's in probably, $100,000 building, I suppose. They're in a big town, kind of close to us. And they do that type of thing in there. So going to the 700,000, 7 times the amount. And I'm just guessing what this building costs, but it's not a really nice building in a large town. So I would guess it wouldn't be too awful expensive, but it would be quite interesting. That is actually, my wife and I have talked about that many times, like a community to where, yeah, people basically have individual sleep spaces or sleep areas, like basically setting up like small cabin areas, like tiny cabins, I guess you'd say. So it'd be kind of similar to this, I suppose. Tiny cabin areas with, very rustic, very uh, minimalistic type of living. And you wouldn't really have running water. You'd have a well, you'd have to pump, you'd have outhouses, stuff like that. But yeah, everybody kind of share food, share growing, harvesting, growing food, harvesting animals, hunting, everything to be done together, shared together. People would have their own areas to work in for, like, if they had a trade, like, if we had a guy that was a blacksmith, or, somebody that could, was the, oh, hell, I don't know. Sorry, horseshoe or whatever, like little areas like that. It would be incredibly interesting, because then you could set small communities, like even on our farmstead, just using that as an example, small communities on there, so you have like-minded people around you that are surrounding you, and then you're all helping each other to not survive but to thrive if anything ever happened. And also right now, so it reminds me like the Amish community, how they do it. They go over, they got 20 guys that hop up on their little horse and buggies. They go to a neighbor's house, they put up a barn. A week later, the barn's up, functional, they're ready to rock and roll. Here, my wife and I will sit here and work on a building for 2 or 3 weeks on our own. Hutch, he'll sit there, 2 or 3 weeks working on a building of his own, because he doesn't have, this huge community around him to come help him do his project. And when his project's done, you move on to the next person. So it's an interesting concept. I just don't, I'm having troubles trying to figure out how to get it set up. And yeah, if any of you guys ever had any ideas on that, I'd be extremely interested in kicking that around, on how to keep working on like that type of a situation. And then we could all help each other build a bunker. Hutch is working on a community idea live this week. I'll have to keep an eye out for that, man. I'd be excited to see that. I like the whole raid concept, enclosed campground. Yeah, it's it could be a good thing or it could be a bad thing, I guess, if you put that many people in a small area. But you could literally set up your own butcher shops. I mean, literally everything you could think of. And it depended on how much, back to just I don't know, getting as back to the old days, I guess, as possible, where you're if you did want to live horse and buggy style, or just how rough of a living do you want? And I don't think it'd actually be that rough of a living. I mean, just doing some of the things that we've done and some of the things that we've done in the past, actually seems like it'd be a pretty damn good living, actually, to be doing that type of stuff. But because you're out of the rat race too, so in theory, anyways, I think a guy or gals in that type of a community setting could make enough money from outside people to actually do pretty well if you had things set up correctly. Like I was saying, like butcher shop, blacksmith, you just start naming off these little things that people could do as a trade. There's a million different trades a guy could do or a lady could do. Yeah, Stuart, I agree. It does not have to be rough. I think, I don't know, man. I've cut a lot of firewood in my life, split a lot of firewood in my life, and lived pretty off grid at times just to experience it, and it's really not that bad. Now doing it forever, maybe, except for like if a guy could figure out how to do his lights a little bit differently, it'd be kind of interesting. Oh yeah, personalities would definitely be the hardest thing to deal with. But yeah, that's where hopefully you'd have enough separation. Which yeah, Hush, I'm interested to see what you're gonna be talking about now. Now I want to kind of shut up so I don't get into anything that you might be getting into. But yeah, if you had everything kind of separated enough to where you have your own spaces, but then you all have your working communities together. It's interesting concept, but finding that many like-minded people and talking to them about it without making them think you're crazy, or without giving them too much information about your personal things that you're trying to do that you may not want people around you in that close of proximity to know about you, then yeah, that's a whole different story there, I guess. It's a good point there too. Most of those might. Sure, you say most of the Milo sites, missile sites, are still targets, because I would agree there, definitely. And there's other targets like here in Kansas, which may be an interesting video to do all together too. So like you've got big gas production facilities and helium production facilities, natural gas, and things like that are huge hubs that literally have spider webs going out of pipelines running all across Kansas. And you can see, you'll be cruising dirt roads or whatever, and you'll see all these signs, pipelines crossing here, pipelines crossing there. Those are good potential things, that I would be very concerned about somebody looking at, because it's Central America. It's big, huge hubs. That's a scary thought because of where we live. It's all right, within the vicinity, but I don't know where all you could get to get completely away from that type of stuff. It's just, one of the things you have to think about and, pay attention to and know is a possibility in your area, I guess. So those would definitely be an interesting thing to kind of look at and kind of show people what they look like and the potentials. That would be a good one to kick around for the potentials of that, I guess. Let's see here. I believe also that will be going live right after me. Am I correct, sir? And I just lost all my comments. Really? Yeah, I'm trying to use my computer here too, guys. Sorry. So, Hutch, are you going to be going live right after this? I don't know if I actually got that set or not before I. Sorry. So, Hutch, are you going to be going live right after this? I don't know if I actually got that set or not. There we go. Now I got my volume off. Nope, not tonight. Oh, me. Nice. Well, I'm still shooting for the hour mark minimum. Or maximum, I mean. Sorry. Okay, well, then I guess. Well, is there anybody that we know going live tonight, Hush, or is it? It's a hell of a late. Trav's going at 9. Damn. I'll see if I can make that. I might be half asleep when I get there, but I can probably still run it for a little bit and listen to it for a little bit. At minimum, I can at least have it playing while I'm trying to eat supper and visit with the wife a little bit. I'll just keep it kind of low. I don't think she'll care though because it's tribe, so she won't care too much if I'm got it playing. That's one thing too, y'all. I've still been watching a lot of, videos and everything like that. I just haven't been commenting on them a lot lately. But that's hopefully going to change as the weather keeps getting worse and worse. We'll be able to actually, play around on the phone a little bit more and all that good stuff. I'm going to actually try to plan out some content this time and get some content that I can actually hopefully talk a little bit knowledgeable about instead of all this just random stuff all the time. But if not, then another thought I had was just kind of trying to video a lot of the stuff that we do around the farm most of the time instead of just doing the work. Try to, I don't know, document it more. I'd like to see how much of it I could document just for my own sake. If everything stays working good here in the world we live in, then in a couple of years, I can look back and see what I've done and everything like that. And kind of see our progress and show our progress to the younger generations and everything so they could see, like Hutch said in one of his videos, so you can show your younger generations, what you guys have done with, your area. Because if I remember correct, Hutch, you moved up to your place and there wasn't nothing on your land, if I remember correctly. Like my place had, we had the house, shitty barn, some raggedy sheds, but we had some outbuildings to start with. We've built quite a bit onto there, and they still don't look the best in the world, but we use a lot of random stuff or reused stuff, repurposed stuff, or leftover things, from construction sites and stuff like that to work on. So yeah, you did have raw land. Okay, that's right. Because I thought you had said even like your sidewalks, literally everything was rocks you pried out of there with a pry bar. See, that's real stuff there, man. That's badass to do that type of a thing and to make that type of a jump, like where you was in life, and then make that kind of a jump to go out there and start doing that type of thing. And that's a ballsy move, and man, more of us should do stuff like that. And that, that gives me a, yeah, kidding, like community being really handy, but it gives me like a lot more hope for, things that may be coming down the pipe for us as far as, depending on what goes on with all this stuff, with all these things going around here right now, depending on how all that goes, that gives me a lot more hope for, if I do have to just bounce and be out there working at the homestead, then, it gives me a lot more hope to be able to make a living out there and be able to do the things I still need to do out there without being here at this job. So yeah, and I'd have to agree a lot on the destroying your back when you're trying to do a lot of that stuff, man. I don't know how many things it would have been nice to have an extra hand or two trying to move some stuff around. And, I just went to move something the other day and I was talking to my wife about it because I remember taking it out there. And I know I've said this before, but I'll say it again because I remember taking it out there and it was a big, heavy item. I don't know. I mean, I know you get weaker with age and stuff, but man, I don't know how I got some of this stuff moved that I moved. And I'm talking, some rocks that are just giant, and I don't understand how we moved them. But I barely got them rolled into the bucket of the tractor to get them moved over to where we moved them to. There must have been something wrong with me when I was younger. Well, guys, it looks like we are getting pretty close to the hour mark that I was trying to shoot for. Unless there's anything extremely interesting anybody wants to talk about, throw it up there in the comments, and we'll see if we can talk about something. I have been talking to a few other people about trying to do some, get with them on doing some lives just to kind of have somebody else to talk to and do a couple different little things on there. So that's something else we might be kicking around doing, a couple more of those. But it's hard to say because doing the lives, I absolutely have to stay here at work. So that really puts a damper on getting stuff done around the farmstead. Doing videos, I can at least record them and load them when I get to work. So, we'll just see how it goes from there. I may try a live because of talking to some of these people out at the house and just see how it goes. But there's at least one more live that's going to come up that's going to be a extremely interesting one. If I've been working on it for a minute, and it's a really big name outside of our community even. But if I could get that worked out, I will be posting that probably 2 weeks in advance and then reposting it or something like that, because I'm want to try to, if it works out like it sounds like it's going to, I want to try to get as many people over there as possible, and then kind of go from there on it. But once I get a little bit more information on there, we'll start getting some of it out there for y'all to hear and know what's going on, and then you guys pass the word around and help us hopefully make a good live out of it, because the fellow that I'm talking to is definitely well out of my I never thought that he would ever have agreed to do any kind of talking with me, let alone a live on YouTube. So it'll be extremely interesting if it all pans out 100%. And I do appreciate y'all showing up tonight and stepping in on this live. Heartland should be back next week, so we should be able to get into doing the grizzly bear country hindsight. So hopefully that one will be interesting. We're trying to, each one I think will get a little bit more interesting, because as we work together a little bit, we'll be able to start, reading each other a little bit more and everything like that. Let's see here. All right, y'all. Is there anything else you want to talk about for a minute? If not, I'm going to be hopping off of here real quick. Thank Arkansas living, man. I've been still watching your videos too, by the way, but I don't know about your camera thing, man. That's getting way above my head. It looked pretty cool, but at first when I glanced at it, I ain't gonna lie, I was scrolling through real quick looking for something to watch of yours, and I thought it was something to do with a shotgun. I ain't gonna lie, so I stopped and clicked on it real quick, and no, it was a camera, man, which is cool, but yeah, way above my head. But all right, thanks y'all. I'm gonna go ahead and hop off of here. Y'all have a good night. Stay safe, and see you next time around.